Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I think I kind of met everybody as everybody came in, but I'm John Dillon. I was doing some woodworking classes at Chicago School of Woodworking, and I hadn't been on a lathe since I was in junior high school, but I always walked through the room when I was leaving to go home, and I thought, I'm going to take that class next. So I did that in 2019, and I really have not gone back to woodworking since. I've been turning pretty much nonstop since then. So I always recommend it only because I know a lot of people are self-taught wood turners, which is all good, but when you get a good mentor or teachers, and I took lessons with Ed Zacconi too, some of you might know Ed, but anyway, they really get you off on the right foot, and it can save you a lot of time trying to figure it out on your own or watching YouTube videos or something. So like everybody, we start off with some nice easy projects, and since that time, I do a lot of turning now. I turn just about everything. I turn hollow forms. I love turning bowls. I do spindle turning. The only things I don't do is segmenting or pen turning. I just haven't really done that yet. So I'm in my shop most days. You know what I was going to exactly do tonight, but I've turned these before. I found some pieces of yew, and I make these little trees, a variety of sizes. And I was doing this last week, and I told Tom, hey, if you want me to do something different, I can do some little live edge trees. And I got the wood for it. And then I started to do some mushrooms, which I'm not overly thrilled with, but they're pretty similar. I need to critique on the shapes of those, because these are the types of things that are relatively easy to make. You can use a variety of woods. I love using yew wood. I had some yellow birch, and I made these a few years ago. They're little live edge trees. And I usually when I make these trees, and I do sell these trees, I was partners for 3 years in what we called the Fox Valley Gallery of Wood in Batavia. It was a small shop, and people love this kind of stuff. They see it. It's relatively affordable because they're pretty quick and easy to make. So usually I would pick out like a set of 3 different sizes and put them out there for sale for $45 for the set of 3. Maybe if they were a little bit bigger, I've made them out of white oak before and some other woods, I might sell 3 for $60. So I thought, well, I could demo that tonight, and if we have time, if I could grab a piece of wood and do a live edge bowl or something else too. But do you guys want me to pass these around at all? Would anybody like to see them up closer? A couple of them? And we can set them out or whatever you want to do.
What do you use to color them here?
Color on there is just acrylic paint. So these are turned, like say these are called yellow birch. There's 2 or 3 different kinds of birch trees, but I had yellow birch in my yard. I had trimmed some branches, and they turn real nice. And then if you leave a little bit wider tenon, these lines are created by just adjusting it in the chuck a little bit to give it a little bit of an offset.
That was the next question.
And then you turn them, and you kind of do in between when they're on different angles in the chuck. Mm-hmm. So you're cutting through. I do these with a skew. You can do them with a spindle gouge too, but a skew works pretty good, and you just make the grooves, and then I just went back and painted them in with different colors after that. So it's kind of fun. My wife keeps these on our coffee table year round. And you want me to pass any? You guys got the idea. They'll be here. If you want to see any, I'll just leave them here, I guess. I think they'll be fun. But anyway, is everybody familiar with yew? Because this is a branch. In Batavia, they have what they call brush pickup every month. So everybody can cut down limbs, bushes, trees, whatever they want, take it out to the parkway, put it by the curb, and the city comes around. They have a contractor comes around with a big grapple hook and just picks it up. They take it back to the wood lot, and they make mulch out of it. But yews are very common in front of people's homes, and this is what the needles look like on yews. But it's really special when you get into the heartwood of them. I don't know if we can see on here or not, but you can kind of see in the end grain here.
Just take it and put it under your light over there.
Okay. They're mostly bushes in our area, yew bushes, I would say. But there's also yew trees. Yew trees are very, I don't know how to describe it in England. They're very cherished, I guess you would say. They get pretty big. Yew trees can actually get pretty big, and woodturners in particular are kind of like a koa tree in Hawaii. They know where they're at because they're not real common when they get bigger. But if they ever get cut down, all the woodworkers want the yew wood because it's so beautiful when you turn it or woodwork with it. And they're also it turns really nice. So these trees, they're not sanded at all. This is right off the tool, and when you pass them around, you might see some tool marks on there, but when I do it tonight, you'll see how clean it cuts. Just because it's green wood, basically, it's not real dry yet. And, when they say like pear and stuff, people like turning pear wood because it cuts like butter. That's kind of the way yew wood is too. It's just real smooth texture, easy to cut and turn. So, like this limb here, I had 3 or 4 of those. I was driving around. I know when the brush pickup is, and I'll sometimes have coffee with my buddies on Friday morning. And then I'm like, I'm going to drive around because brush pickup is Monday. So everybody's got their stuff out there. And sure enough, I was driving around a couple weeks ago and I see this pile of yew branches. So I had a little bow saw and a little lopper. So I jumped out. Lady was home. And you don't mind if I take some of these branches, do you? She said, take all you want. I don't care. They're for the city. So I grabbed 3 or 4 of them and just sawed them off, threw them in my truck, and ended up with these. When I cut them off, I don't care if there's knots or branches or anything else when I make these things. The whole idea is you can make these whatever you want them to be. If you want a real long trunk, you can make a real tall skinny tree. If you want a little squatty one, you can do that. You can make the trunks as long or as short as you want. I've made them real compact before, and I've made them real tall before. And like I say, I've made them out of this white oak. Surprisingly, it hasn't cracked, even though there's a pith in the white oak. The yellow birch. So you can try it with any branches you want. And all you need is about 1.5 inch or 2 inch diameter branch. So, drive around, you find the stuff laying around, you can go for it.
Unless you want a full-size Christmas tree.
Yeah. So anyway, first thing I do, unless anybody have any questions about the wood itself or anything, pretty straightforward. I just usually eyeball the centers on either end because, again, they're not intended to be perfect. So if they're off a little bit, it kind of gives you that offset. Even if there's a little bend in there or something, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. I just mark the centers. And then I put it between, you gotta decide which one do you want the top or the bottom first. So there's this big knot here. If I make that the top, that's gonna turn right off, so I think I'll do that in this one. Sometimes you'll get them where it's obviously bigger on one end than the other. Maybe you want that for the base. But in this case, I'm just gonna leave this for the top, and this end for the bottom. And all I'm going to do first is put a tenon on the bottom, and I'm going to flip it around. So put that there. The other thing I'll mention about yew wood is everybody here familiar with the wood database? Does anybody ever reference that? Do you guys ever reference that? If you Google it, there's a guy, I think his name's Eric Meyer. He's got a website, and he's actually just made a book. And his website is all about different species of wood. And he gives a description of it, pictures of it, good, bad, not good, what you can do with it. Anyway, if you look up yew wood, it's in the high toxicity category. I mean, it's like a red thing. You'll see certain woods will be highly toxic. Yew is one of them. I don't think any of us are going to pass out and die if I turn this tonight. But when I turn them at home, even though it's green and I'm not sanding them, I usually wear a mask and stuff because I don't know. I don't want to really breathe a lot of the dust from it, and I don't think you'll see a lot of dust coming off here tonight, but just be aware of that too if you do find you, and I know a lot of us will wear breathing protection anyway when we're turning, especially if you're sanding. I have a good filter that I can just wear, and then I also have that 3M VersaFlow I can wear if I'm turning in exotic woods and I really want the protection. So I have both, but I just wanted to mention that too. So I got that big knot up here. I had to move the tool rest back a little bit, but you can turn these pretty, seems faster. But anyway, I'm just going to put a tenon on this end with my skew. Usually I'll square up the end a little bit. And then just make a little tenon here that's going to fit my chuck. I like using my skew only because I have a Vicmark 100, which takes that tapered tenon a little bit. And it doesn't have to be real big because we're going to use the tailstock for part of this too. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in a chuck. And then when I bring up the tailstock, it doesn't really matter where it hits on that end. I mean, don't worry about it being in the center, because we're just here for a little bit of support. It's pretty close to center anyway, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of turn, not a lot. I don't know, I need a shorter tool rest maybe. I mean, I could probably do it. Let me try this anyway, Bob. This might work all right. No, let me go with this. I'm pretty close here. So I'm going to use a parting tool to start with. What I like to do is, I like to kind of establish where I'm going to be with these components here. Right next to the chuck is where I'm going to part it off when I'm done. Then I'm going to make a parting cut to kind of establish the width of the base. So anyway, I'm going to make a parting cut right next to the chuck because that's where I'm going to take it off. Then I'm going to make a parting cut the thickness of the base, whatever you want it to be. It can, if you don't even want bark down here, you don't have to have it there. Then I'm going to make a parting cut at the top of the trunk where the tree is going to start, and then I'm going to start shaping it. So I like to kind of establish up front where I'm going to be on it. That's all good. So depending on how comfortable you feel, making a parting cut right next to the chuck is up to you, but I get pretty close. So, and then I usually make one at a little bit of an angle right next to that, because when I go to part it off later, it's going to be at an angle too anyway, so just the edges are sitting on the table. Okay, then I'm going to make a parting cut for that base. Looks like it's, 3/8 of an inch, almost a half. Then I'll just put the trunk right here, it's just random, whatever I want to do. Okay, so all this material is coming out for the trunk. And then I grab spindle gouge, and I got this big knot up here at the top. I want to get that kind of out of the way. Usually the knots are pretty hard compared to the rest of the wood. Thank you. I'm just almost through it now. Okay. So, got that knot off of there, and you can hardly even tell it was there. Actually, there's a little piece of it, and I'm going to take this back. So, we just have this little bit of bark hanging on the edge. I'm going to take some of this out of here now. As long as I got the tailstock up there, I might as well. And then what I like to do is I kind of like to make the shape of the tree, and I kind of make them, I guess you call that concave. Before I put what I call like the little branches, or before I put those in. So kind of get your shape down first before you worry about where you're going to put your little cutouts. So I'll take this back a little bit, then I'll take some of this out of here. Kind of let it right. A little bit far over the tool rest, but with the 1/2-inch spindle gouge, it's got pretty good support versus a 3/8 spindle gouge, which I have with me too. I'm kind of getting a little bit of a finishing cut on here now. Somewhat. I mean, I got a little ways to go still. Okay. And then I'm going to take some of this out. All this comes with all the trunk. Kind of the same, it's like making a big cove when you're doing this. And the trunk, again, can be kind of as thick as you want it to be, or as thin. You can really see I wouldn't say it's stringy, but it really comes off the tool really pretty nice. Okay. This looks up here, this might be a little thick in here, but it's not terrible. I have to cut down here to make this clean, which is no problem, but the trunk looks pretty good right now at that thickness to me, and it's pretty clean actually too. It's not terrible. So I'm gonna maybe make another cut up here, make this a little narrower, then I'm gonna cut down here and nice clean cut there. I might clean up this edge right here just a little bit, but it's pretty good, and back here, but let me make a little bit more, this a little smaller, and cut down here a little bit. And I'll probably get that tailstock out of my way. Now this doesn't have to be really good right now, because I'm still going to put those branches in there. And that's going to give me another opportunity to smooth this out. But to me, it's always good practice just to always make clean cuts anyway. So this one needs to be cut down in. Switching over to left-handed. That's too big of a bite there. Okay. Clean that up just a little bit more. see what that looks like underneath there. I'm going to go ahead and take this off, get it out of the way. Get a little bit closer to this end because I'm going to work on just this part of the tree now. Because this all looks good, I might get that a little bit off there. Sometimes I'll double check. Because with green wood, it moves a little bit. You might want to just double check it's still tight since you take the tailstock away. Don't want it to bear down too hard. It's a really small piece of wood, so it's no problem. Okay. So, going down here, I got it. It's just, again, it's eyeball where you think you might want the branches, and I come back and I go up to the point where I think I want that top to be. Okay. Come back and take that off, get it out of there. Okay, and then we can shape this. Again, a little bit of a concave. You're always going, you know, with anything, you're always going for that nice curve. You will notice right on this edge there's tear out. So you always have, once you get this in there a little deeper, then you have to come back and you have to go over that top one more time. And they'll each have that tear out until you go back and clean those up. So I'm just going to make this a little bit deeper first. Okay, so I'm right up that edge, then I go right to the edge. So let's see if that, I just want to see if the tear out's gone off the top of that. So that's pretty clean right there now. Okay, then we'll go and make the next one. So I already kind of started here with that, so maybe I can just make, you know, right in there. And I turn it over and I kind of take it down. And then you have to cut the top of this one a little bit. Get a clean edge. Okay, stop there for a second. So you can make as many of these little branch things as you want. Those both look pretty good. So I'm going to start here. I'm probably maybe only going to get 3 plus the base. I'm going to start up here right outside the bark. Really no right or wrong to it. Come back and cut this top. Okay, little mark right there. Not the end of the world. But, you know, it's good practice for tool control and other things when you don't have to sand something. Who likes to sand anyway, whether it's this wood or any other kind of wood? So that to me is acceptable. I could probably clean up these corners a little bit. I got a 3/8 spindle gouge too, but I cut it clean back here. Sometimes you will have to go in here and cut this edge clean on this side, especially depending on how the bark is treating you. You can do that. You can do one across this way. And then it's ready to be parted off. I do, this is pretty small, but I do have like a glove I will use sometimes because I can slow down the speed a little bit. But, you know, you do got to grab these and it could be a little sharp. So I'm going at an angle with the parting tool. I go straight in and then I do my other cut at an angle. Back and forth. And I'm going to slow down just a little bit. Like everything, it definitely cuts better when it's going fast, but it's okay with this way too. That little chisel, you gotta be a little careful with your hand here, just give it little cuts back and forth.
What was your RPMs when you were turning that originally?
You know, it said 500, but I think that meant 1500 on this lathe. It was definitely more than it was definitely more than 500. So anyway, that's kind of a skinny one compared to these, but it's all right. I could have made it beefier, skinnier. I mean, I'm not thrilled with that being that skinny on top, but when you put a set of them together, it doesn't matter because they're all going to be different. That's what I like about making things like this. I mentioned I'm not a segmenter or a pen turner. Segmenting especially, I mean, there's some awesome stuff that I know the club members make, but that's a lot of math. A lot of precision goes into that. I'm more of a bowl turner primarily, where I just pick up a piece of wood and I make something. I never plan anything out before I make it. Sometimes I'll try to draw things, but I'm not a really good artist, so it never looks the same way as when I make things anyway. But I do like making hollow forms. I like making boxes. I like making things like this, natural edge things, especially. People gravitate towards anything natural edge. They really do. I'd be happy to try a mushroom. I got some other wood here I was going to leave with anybody that wants a couple pieces. I have some bigger pieces I'm willing to do a tree out of, or whatever you guys want to see. If you want me to do a mushroom, I can do a little mushroom. Yeah. You can try that. Sure. Oops.
You put a finish on them?
I did. These have walnut oil on them. Mahoney's walnut. So again, the mushroom, I put a little M on these, W or M, depending on how you look at it. But generally, when I just made these mushrooms yesterday before I came here, I'm like, I'll try a couple mushrooms. And I had made a couple before, but I had been a long time. But what I did was, I don't think I mentioned, for the trees, I usually make the trees, when I cut the branches, the length is 3 times the diameter. So if this is 2 inches or 2 1/4, it could be 6, plus then I leave a little bit for the chuck and the parting. So I might, if it's 2 inches, I might make it 6 1/2 or something. So just to generally, that's kind of the ratio I use on that. When I made the mushrooms, I made it more like 2 to 1, just because. Again, I Googled it. If you Google wood turning and mushrooms, there's every shape and size you can imagine. People make them real tall and skinny, and guess that'd be like a morel mushroom or something. Other people just have a little half dome. Some are real flat with a real wide top. So check it out online if you want to try these and see which one kind of appeals to you. That's all I can say.
Have you ever seen the news on Channel 5?
The what?
The late news on Channel 5, I think it's Thursday night.
No.
The guy has fungi Wednesday, fungi Thursday, whatever.
Oh.
He shows 2 different fungi pictures that somebody sent in.
Huh.
It's every week. So you see a lot of different shapes.
Yeah. There's no, I mean, like say, when you look up mushrooms, they're all over the place. Now, this one's got like a little bow in it. We'll try it. I mean, it's not going to matter. Usually when they have the little bows in them and stuff, it looks more like an off-center turning, with the trees especially, because the bark is not perfect all the way around on. This one, yeah. You know, it's kind of funny. So anyway, go ahead and put a little tenon on this one too.
Pass around the one that you just took off?
Oh. Like I say, I'm not thrilled with how skinny that one is, but I was taking too many cuts. But it's a keeper. I should have mentioned, usually, like we all know, I'm not real sure, I usually just check to make sure that that's flat or slightly concave, you know, so the chuck sits nice and flat to it. That's pretty much what we all do, I know, all the time. So the mushroom that I was making yesterday is, I was kind of shaping it like, I guess I would call it a bell shape, coming off the top. And again, I didn't really have the vision. Should I make it more round or, you know, some of them are real tall up here. I was like, I don't know. It's surprising though, I was mentioning this Fox Valley Gallery of Wood and Batavia Boardwalk shops. Were you ever out there, Bob? Bob, did you ever come out to the boardwalk shops?
I'm sorry,
Did you ever come out to the boardwalk shop in Batavia?
I have not.
Tom was out there, I know, right?
What's that?
The boardwalk shop in Batavia?
No, I hadn't.
You never went there? Well, anyway, it was me and Andy Kuby and Rich Nye, who maybe you guys know. And we had a 10 by 10 store where we'd sell a lot of this stuff. And there was 2 or 3 times I had a little mushroom in there. And it would sell instantly. There's people, I don't know what it is about mushrooms, but people just love, they're like some kind of a aura to mushrooms with people. I don't know.
They're going to take them home and smoke them.
It had something to do with that.
Eat them.
Make them glow in the 3D light somehow or whatever.
Get coffee out of the mug.
So I'm going to establish again the base and the stem. And I don't know whether to make them taller or shorter or what. I'm still figuring that out. But this is going to be where I part it off when I'm done. And then a little base. There's a knot right there. And I guess maybe I'll try something different. Just make a real long stem and just a short top. Just a dome top. Let's see if you like that better. Okay. So it's an experiment for all of us. I'm just going to make a big bead on this. Okay, I'm going to get all this out of the way. I gotta go a little faster. Is that 800? It's on 800, now it's on 650 as I go faster. I think that's probably 15, I don't know. I think it's faster than it was before though. I don't normally turn real fast.
You might be on the high side when you're done with
You are.
It is, I think, yeah, we look.
it.
So it's basically the same down here as the tree. And you could use the bowl gouge to do this too. Take the material off. Works just the same. So again, these would be nice gift items for people and stuff. My wife likes the trees, but she didn't want any mushrooms in the house. Okay, whatever. So I'm gonna go pretty thin since it's a mushroom. We'll see if we like it when it's done. I don't know. I made one I brought with tonight. I didn't make the stem nearly thin enough. It was really way too thick. I'm getting myself into trouble right here. Might be about good there. Okay, I'm gonna take this, clean up this inside edge. Underneath, you know, there's a big undercut, which you can do to a degree with like a parting tool if you wanted to. Or I could maybe take the 3/8 bowl gouge and get up there underneath there deeper, but I'm gonna be happy with this right. I think we got it, I think. So all I really have left to do, I can clean this up a little bit. Take light cuts because we're pretty thin on the other side of this. Okay. Clean up this edge a little bit. Okay, and then I think there's a little line right here, but I'm not going to worry about it. But we'll part that off and we'll see if we like it. Turn the speed down a little bit. don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. Is that any? Is it more of a mushroom or less? I don't know. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. If you can tell it's a mushroom, I guess it's a mushroom. So whatever.
That was the same kind of wood.
Yeah, this is all you would too. So this one you can actually, when it passed around, look at there's like a double. There was a knot or a branch, and there's a double on the top of that one. Just coincidentally, I didn't see that when I started.
It's almost a face.
Is that wood just cut recently?
I found the branches just 2 or 3 weeks ago laying in the parkway, so I
There you
think
go.
the people had just cut it. Now, I have found other when I say bushes, I've found bushes in front yards that a guy cut down, this was 2 or 3 years ago. The stump was this big around, and then all these branches are coming off, and they're 4 and 6 inches big. And the bush was about this tall, but people just for 50 years go around and trim the yew bush, and the base of it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It was huge. So anyway, I took all that. I made some nice vases and bowls and boxes and stuff out of it. Big, thick branches. I say these are quick, easy, cute, nice little gift items for people, inexpensive. Good practice to do. Try your own shapes, whatever you think. Try and think of what else live edge other than mushrooms and trees you can use this stuff for. But just spindle turning. Which, again, spindle turning. A lot of people don't do a lot of spindle turning, but it's like the foundation for everything. If you're a good spindle turner, you'll be a good bowl turner. But just the opposite. If you're a good bowl turner, doesn't mean you'll be a good spindle turner. So it's the beads and coves that are the kind of basis for everything. And I like turning. I like doing spindle turning. I turn a lot of candlesticks that Rudy Olsolnik style. Some of you know Rudy Olsolnik. He made candlesticks for department stores in the 1950s and 60s. And he's got a really cool shape. It's called, I call it mid-century modern. It's pretty, I sold a lot of them, but people call it a sexy shape. It's just a real nice curve. And it's not, they look like they'd be easy to make, but you have to really get the curve right. And I had read he'd made over 40,000 of these things in his career. And he sold them at places like Marshall Fields and other places. And you can find them online.
There was no natural edge on it.
No.
It was all smooth and finished.
It's all smooth finish. And he would get up at 3 in the morning. He'd have 100 of them done before his wife got out of bed. 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Finished with what?
What kind of finish on them? I have no idea. I finish mine with polyurethane when I make them. Like a satin, wipe on poly.
Wipe on and wipe
The
off.
hard part about his design, they're only 2-inch candlestick. So the candles I put in them are 1/2-inch taper candles, they're called, and they're 8 or 10 inches tall. You can only find them online. And they come out, I found a guy who sells them out of New York in all different colors. But you can't go to Hobby Lobby or any of those stores and buy those narrow 1/2-inch candles. They're all 5/8 or more.
You can make them on wood.
Huh? You can make them on wood too, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Those candles are.
Yeah.
They burn
But
it.
I like doing spindle turning when the opportunity arises. Like things like this I enjoy making. And I can make, here, I can make 10 of them in, a couple hours if I got the wood cut. I just cut it with my hand saw on my bench. I don't use a chainsaw or anything.
And then at this point, you would just put a finish on it.
I would just sign the bottom and put some walnut oil on them, 1 coat, just to give it a little bit more pop. But anyway, that was a quick demo, huh? Is that all right?
At 40,